The Chinese ambassador then held a rather rare press conference in which he angrily condemned the UK government for interfering in their internal affairs. He is with me now for his first interview since then. Welcome, Mr. Ambassador. You were quite angry, weren't you?
Yes, very much so, because we are strongly opposed to British intervention in Hong Kong internal affairs. We believe that this amendment to ordinance has a good reason, because the chief executive and the Hong Kong government want to make Hong Kong a better place, safer place, rather than a safe haven for fugitive criminals. But yes, yet the British government, senior officials, voice support for demonstrators. What makes it even worse is when the violence happened, they even voice support. Instead of condemning the storming of the Legislation Council, they criticize the Hong Kong government for handling the situation.
Jeremy Hunt just said his heart went out to the protesters and he didn't approve of the violence. Now, a lot of people thought there was a kind of 50-year guarantee that not much would change in Hong Kong when the handover happened, and that this is being eroded by this new law, because once you can extradite somebody very easily from Hong Kong to the mainland, then lots of people will stop saying what they would have said, free speech will be slowly silenced, and people do feel that this is the beginning of the end of the one country, two systems agreement.
Andrew, so that shows your lack of understanding of what this bill is about. It's not about extradite the people from Hong Kong to mainland. It's about, Hong Kong has this mutual assistance agreement with 30 countries, yet they do not have the similar agreement with more than 170 countries and regions. So that is means if some people committed crime outside Hong Kong and return to Hong Kong, Hong Kong cannot punish them. And this bill will make it to plug the loopholes. I think some people try to use this to scare fear among the Hong Kong people. In the past...
these are powers that Beijing wants.
I don't think so.
No?
The whole thing started by Hong Kong government. Just as a chief executive said, he received no instructions from Beijing. He received no order from Beijing. It is a completely initiative, launched by Hong Kong government to make a Hong Kong system more perfect, to improve the legal system.
We've seen all the scenes in Legco and in Hong Kong recently, and there seemed to be the case that the police there couldn't hold back the protesters. If you feel the situation is getting out of control and the Hong Kong authorities can't control things, does Beijing, does China intervene directly in Hong Kong?
You mentioned about the one country, two systems.
Yes.
For 50 years. We are fully committed to this agreement. There's no question about that. So you can see that from the day one till now, central government have not interfered at all. We, on every step of the way, we let the Hong Kong government to handle this.
Yes.
Instead, it is the British government try to interfere, voice support for demonstrators. Then when these writers storm the Legico, they even said you can't use this violence as a protest for repression. So, they try to obstruct the legal process. And answer your question in a simple way, we have a full confidence in Hong Kong government
to do that.
And it shows that they are capable of handling this situation.
Nevertheless, this law would have made it easier to extradite people to China. Chris Patten, mainland China, who was the last governor, said this recently. He said, things have gone from bad to very bad to even worse. People with the wrong views have been banned from political activity. Freedom of speech has been whittled away in the media and in the universities. Beijing has even abducted individuals from Hong Kong and taken them back to the mainland.
I totally reject accusation of Chris Patten. I think as a last governor of Hong Kong, his body is in the 21st century, but his head is still living in the old colonial days. It won't make easy, with this bill to extradite people from Hong Kong to China, mainland China, because there's many safeguards. First of all, there's 37 clause to safeguard in terms of this bill. That means no people will be extradited to China because of religious belief, because of the political belief, and it has to be punishable. You mean the crime has to be punishable on both places. That means even some make an extreme case. If the murder is not regarded as a crime in Hong Kong, then people who committed murder will not be extradited to China.
This has been a very, very angry row by diplomatic standards. Jeremy Hunt is still threatening further, possibly sanctions and so forth against China if it goes on. Is this a moment when British-Chinese relationships are in real crisis?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We are not interested in diplomatic war with the UK. We are still committed in building stronger relationship, partnership. The golden era started by President Xi. I still remember the last time you interviewed me was before President Xi's visit in 2015. Yes. And we are still committed to this golden era between our two countries. But I cannot agree with some politicians' description of the relationship. Even they use this so-called strategic ambiguity. I think this language does not belong to the vocabulary between China and UK. It's a Cold War mentality language.
Another big row between Britain and China potentially is over the role of Huawei in the 5G electronic communications network. Can I put it to you, there is no way at all the People's Republic of China would allow Western or British or American companies direct access to your security infrastructure?
China is developing, and to answer your question directly, I don't think Huawei would have access to your security infrastructure.
But it'll be able to eavesdrop on lots of aspects of British life, and the law currently says that it is obliged to hand over information the Chinese government wants, and that's what scares people.
No, it will not happen at all. First of all, no backdoor, and also there's a lot of safeguards.
Can you promise people on this program, and if Huawei has complete access to our 5G network, information will not be passed back to the government in Beijing by Huawei?
I can promise that, 100%. And I think